Hey everyone, it's Brandy and welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be talking about my most disappointing reads of 2017. As you can see from the thumbnail of this video, I didn't really have that many of them, or I had more but I didn't really feel like talking about all of them, so I'm just going to talk about a few of them, the one that really stuck out to me. So most of these books weren't the worst books that I have ever read, but some of them I know I was expecting a whole lot more than I got when I actually read the book. And yeah, let's just go ahead and get into it so you can see what I'm talking about. So the first book that I am going to talk about is actually the only book I feel like was the worst book that I read all year long. And that was The Inflatable Woman by Rachel Ball. I picked this up from Book Outlet. I didn't know anything about it. I just picked it up because it was a graphic novel. And, you know, I was trying to just pick up some random books that I had never heard of, never seen anyone talking about. And in this case, this was a really bad decision. This was the only book that I gave a 1 out of 5 stars to this entire year. This story, it was just really weird and it didn't make any sense, and I didn't connect to the character. It was just a really strange story and I just could not get with it. The next book that I'm going to talk about, I don't have a physical copy of, is At Any Turn by Brenna Aubrey, and this was the second book in the Gaming and System series. Now I really enjoyed the first one and I decided to go right into the second one, but some of the things that annoyed me about the first one were like magnified in the second one. So these characters were supposed to be in a relationship, but one thing was the main character was really controlling and he tried to, control every little pinpoint of your relationship. But then on the other hand, we had the girl character who did not want to open up, and this guy he did his best to take a step back just because he had things that he was trying to overcome in his life, and he was trying to do that, and he would try to get her to open up about trying to figure out what was wrong, because there was clearly something wrong with her. Like, she looked sick, and it was a bunch of things that were going on, and he tried to ask her, like, what's wrong, what's going on, are you okay? And she was just like, I'm fine. She didn't want to talk to him. It was just a bunch of stuff that I did not like, and it was just like, I was so annoyed through the majority of the story, and I was really upset that it took the entire book before the character finally opened up, and the only reason she opened up is because another character got mad at the main male character because of something that happened. And it was just, I had really high expectations. I had heard so many good things about the series, and I wasn't happy with this one. The next one that I have that was my most disappointing read, or one of my most disappointing reads of this year, was Second by Brian Lee O'Malley, another graphic novel that I picked up. I had heard a lot of good things about this one. I know this is the same author who did the Scott Pilgrim series, and I haven't read it. This was actually the first thing that I ever read by him. But this was another one that was really weird, and by the end of it, I feel like I didn't really fully get it, and that kind of kept me from really enjoying it. I will say that I did like the art style. It was very different from anything that I have ever seen art style wise. Overall, this was just a really weird story that I couldn't connect to in any way, and I just thought it was strange, and it didn't really have a satisfying ending for me. The next book that I'm going to talk about that was one of my most disappointing reads of this year was Geekerella by Ashley Poston. This was one of those books where it wasn't the worst book that I read, but it did not meet the expectations that I had going into this. I think I ended up giving this one a 3 out of 5 or 3.5 out of 5 stars when I finished it. But like I said, it didn't meet the expectations that I went into it with. When I picked this one up, there was a lot of hype surrounding this book, and so many people loved it, and they said it was just really cute and really amazing. And when I first started reading this, I was just like, I can't get into this. It took me a while to actually really start to get into the story, and even then I still wasn't fully immersed in it. I think one of the big issues that I have with this is that I'm not really a fan of Cinderella type stories, and I found that out while I was reading this because I don't really remember watching, like, you know, the Disney movie Cinderella growing up. I have seen other versions of it, and they always really annoy me because in a way I feel like it is abuse, and the way that this was handled, it was just like a really abusive relationship. She wasn't being physically abused, but emotionally it was just ridiculous. And the fact that nobody changed by the end of this, it was just really out there. And I know sometimes things like this happen, but I was really mad with the main character's family situation. The saving grace for this book for me was the fandom stuff. Like, the other half of the story I really enjoyed. I enjoyed seeing her excitement about this Starfield fandom and getting excited about the movie and the cosplay contest and going to this convention. All of those things I really liked, and that was what saved this book for me, because if it was just like a Cinderella retelling, I probably would have rated this lower than I did. But it wasn't really what I was expecting, like I said, you know, based off of what everyone else was saying. So that's why this one ended up on my most disappointing reads of this year. And the last book that I have to talk about is A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. Now, this was the final book in the first part of the A Court of Thorns and Roses trilogy. I started off really enjoying this one. When this book opens up and we're following Feyre after the events of the end of the second book, it was just really good and I really enjoyed it. But then it's like after that beginning part, I felt like things were kind of just falling downhill. There wasn't really a whole lot happening, and then when things were happening, I didn't feel like it had as much impact as it did in the second book. And I don't want to necessarily compare it, but coming after the second book, there was no way that this one could compare for me personally. Now, I have talked to a few people and have seen other opinions where people still really enjoyed this one, and I think I've even seen people give this a 5 out of 5 stars. But for me personally, there was no way I could give this a 5 out of 5 stars. And then it did not help that I was spoiled for a part towards the end. That sucked, but I'm not going to completely blame it on that, because honestly, I wasn't completely enjoying it by that point anyway. I was just let down for what I was expecting after coming out of A Court of Mist and Fury, and this one just didn't live up to it for me. So yeah, I think I ended up giving this one a 3.5 stars as well. And I'm looking forward to seeing, there is a novella that's coming out later this year, and it's like a bridge book before the spin-off books for the rest of the series. So I am looking forward to that, and I will definitely still be following along with this series just because I really enjoyed the series overall. But this one just did not hit the mark for me. So these are all the books plus the one ebook that were on my most disappointing reads of this year. If you felt the same about any of these books, let me know. Or if you have a difference of opinion about them, also let me know, because I love having discussions about, you know, what people thought about these books, especially if you have a different opinion from me. But that's all I have for you in this video. Make sure to check out my 2017 favorite reads, which should be going up after this one. And I will see you guys again in the next one.